Oh,
Hello, welcome everyone.
Hello.
We'll just wait a minute here to let everyone join.
Hello.
Hi,
Hi.
good to see you all.
Hello. Can anyone hear me?
Yep.
yes.
we can
Yeah.
hear you.
Oh, good. Thank you.
Hello to Nancy Harvey. You must have got some snow dug out from wherever you are in Summerside today. You're muted, so I'm not hearing you.
I just said there's a lot of snow, too much.
Isn't there? Yeah, it's
We get more than we got in the country.
It's another beautiful day in the Okanagan.
I'll bet.
Aw. That's what I love about these calls. We get to see people from all across the country, which is wonderful.
I finally get to meet you, Jennifer.
Yes. So good to see people face to face. We'll just wait one more minute and then we'll begin. There's still a few folks coming in. Well, welcome everyone. Thank you for joining us today for our webinar on grants. John and I are grateful that you could take time out of your busy schedules to join us.
Yeah. For those of you that I've not met before, my name is John Barrett. I'm the relatively new Associate Secretary for Congregational and Community Ministries, which you may have known as Canadian Ministries a few months ago. I've just been in the role now for about 7 months. So I'm still using the term relatively new as an excuse for not having all the answers to the many questions that you people keep asking us. That's why we have Jennifer. Anyway, I'm not going to be able to stoke the relatively new expression much longer, I guess. So anyway, a special welcome to all of you that have taken time from your busy schedule to be with us today. We're really pleased by the large number in attendance, and I had the good fortune to review a run through of what you'll hear and see today earlier in the week with Jennifer, and I know that you'll glean great interest and insight from what Jennifer will be sharing. As a reminder, this webinar is being recorded so that others not present today, or for those of you who want to watch it again, you can benefit from it by watching at a later date. I'm not sure yet if the Reverend Corey Stewart has joined our group today. Corey is the incoming Associate Secretary of Stewardship, and he'll beginning to continue the good work of Karen Plater, who has served the church so well in that capacity for some time. We thought it'd be helpful for Corey to see where and how the funds that come to our department through Presbyterians sharing are being reviewed and spent. One thing, while I have your attention today, that I'd like to point out is that there's a new button at the top of the Presbyterian Church in Canada website called Faith Church. So if you're wondering about how possibly to deal with a complaint, or if there's a harassment issue, or any sort of an issue that's facing the church, if you click on that button, which is at the very top of the page over towards the right hand side, I think you'll find a lot of information that's helpful there. So just wanted to mention that.
What did you say it was called, John?
Safe Church.
Oh.
SAFE.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay, yeah.
So before we begin, I wish to acknowledge that I'm speaking with you today from the island of Avigwit, nestled in the unceded territory of Mi'kma'ki, home of the Mi'kmaq First Nations people. And I invite each of you to add the territory in which you reside in the chat feature that you'll find on your screen. And before I turn things over to Jennifer, we'll begin our get together today with a prayer. So let us pray. Gracious and ever-loving God, we give thanks to the many members of our denomination who willingly support the efforts of the National Church through their contributions to Presbyterian sharing. The important work of so many congregations across the country depends on the variety of grants and loans that are available because of our membership's gracious gifts. Heavenly Father, we work together as one church that shares your word and blessing to those who follow you and to those who have not yet come to learn of your loving grace. We seek your guidance in all we do and ask that all those in attendance today will benefit from their participation in this learning experience. May this time together be a blessing for us all as we pray these things in the name of Jesus, our Lord, Redeemer, and Savior. Amen. Jennifer, who will be leading our webinar today, has been a vital member of the Congregational and Community Ministries Department for the past 8 years. Her role as Senior Program Coordinator involves a wide range of responsibilities, not the least of which is her role as the main contact for all congregations concerning grants and loans. Her experience and expertise in assisting congregations is to find solutions for short and long-term problems that require financial assistance. And her work and efforts have certainly been a gift to our denomination. While many of you have likely had interactions with Jennifer in the past, for those meeting Jennifer now for the first time, I know you will find her extremely helpful and knowledgeable. So at this point, I'll pass the webinar over to Jennifer, who, after her presentation, will entertain any questions that you might have and follow up where needed. And before I do that, I would perhaps ask everybody if they could please mute their microphone so that we don't have any additional sounds coming through. Thank you.
Thank you so much, John. So I'll be sharing my screen. I'm just going to share it right now, and then we'll get going on our presentation. Okay. Good. Okay, can everyone see that okay? Great. Good. Well, thank you, John, for that very kind introduction. And thank you again to everyone for joining us today, taking time out of your very busy schedules. We appreciate having you with us today. So as we begin, I just wanted to share a Bible verse that I thought tied in well with what we'll be talking about today. The verse is from the book of Isaiah, chapter 54, verse 2, and it says, "Enlarge the place of your tent, stretch your tent curtains wide, do not hold back." So this verse speaks to having faith and courage. In the context, God was calling Israel to prepare for growth that they couldn't yet see. So in the same way, stepping out in new ways and with new outreach is an act of faith as we make room for the people that God loves and is trying to reach. So today we'll be, there we go. We'll be talking about why grants matter. We'll look at some of the key types of grant opportunities. I'll go through some real life success stories of congregations in the PCC that have received grants. We'll talk about strategies for finding grants, some tips for successful grant applications. I'll talk to you about important dates with the grants, and then we'll look at some next steps and resources. And as John mentioned, we'll also leave lots of time at the end for questions. So why do grants matter? Oftentimes congregations will think, well, grants are for large capital projects, which is not the case. we actually get many grant applications that help to fund smaller initiatives. And oftentimes these are pilot projects where a congregation will want to try something new and they're not sure if it'll work or not, and that's okay. Because even if a project may or may not be a good fit for your community, we still learn important lessons along the way. So grants are important for encouraging innovation and helping establish new community partnerships. They stretch our budget so that we can have a greater impact. Some of the key types of grant opportunities that we'll be looking at today are youth programs, community outreach, arts and culture, environment, accessibility, and partnerships. So it's important not to, you don't have to try something in each one of these categories. It's usually a good idea to pick the category that is the most natural fit for your congregation and where your gifts are and where God might be leading your congregation. So first we'll start with youth programs. So one of the big opportunities that we have through our grants is to reach and engage with kids and youth. And this is one of my favorite areas. We see all kinds of applications come in this area, everything from vacation Bible school to day camps to music programs and children's choirs. We see youth groups, art programs, sports ministries, after-school programming is a big one, and of course, hiring Christian education staff to help run these programs. The best grant we have for these types of grants is called the Creative Ministry with Children and Youth Fund. And it can be used to help cover program costs, or it could be used to help hire someone. The grant goes up to $8,000. And with this particular grant, there isn't a deadline. We call it a rolling deadline, so you can apply at any time. The example I've chosen to highlight here is the Presbytery of Assiniboia. So what they're doing is they are piloting a traveling messy church program. So they've got 3 congregations in the presbytery, and this messy church program will rotate between the 3 of the congregations. And for those who may not be familiar with messy church, it's a really wonderful alternative to reaching families outside of traditional Sunday morning services. So a lot of families today, they can't make Sunday mornings for whatever reason. They might have hockey, or there could be many reasons, but messy church offers an alternative to that, because it offers programming that's run usually through the week during an evening. And the program will involve crafts, a themed Bible story, worship, and a meal that brings everyone together. So it's a really great program. And we're seeing lots of congregations in the PCC running this type of programming. So with the Presbytery of Assiniboia, it's going so well that they're actually seeing more attendance through their messy church as opposed to Sunday morning services. So they're connecting with families. Families are coming out, and the congregations feel very encouraged. So they applied for a grant for $8,000 from the Creative Ministry with Youth Fund. And this has helped to cover the coordinator's time, as well as some of the program costs, and also the gas for her to travel around to the 3 participating congregations. So the next area of focus we have is community outreach. So this is meeting needs in your community in a variety of ways. It could be through food banks or food pantries, warming centers, shelters. The example I've chosen for this one is St. Andrew's Presbyterian Church in Calgary. They are running a program called the Nietzsche Mart Meal Program. It is an Indigenous-led and operated program that is designed to offer food security to the community. So it's a weekly program where participants can come and they receive the food that they need, but they also receive a warm meal, and there's fellowship, and there's also Indigenous cultural activities happening at the same time. So it's a really wonderful space where everyone feels safe and welcome, and they're accepted and treated with kindness and generosity. So St. Andrew's applied to one of our funds called the New and Renewing Ministry Fund. This fund offers $60,000, and it's usually spread over 3 years. So there are different configurations of what that looks like. Typically, it's $30,000 the first year, $20,000 the second, then $10,000 the third year. But we can work with congregations to meet specific needs for funding. And it's a great program for experimenting with new outreach, establishing new programs, or even trying different services, different new worshiping communities. So there's such a wide variety of outreach that this fund can support. The next area I have for grants is arts and culture. This is a fun one. This can support everything from music concerts to art festivals to other types of cultural programming. So the example I have here is of Wexford Presbyterian Church. Wexford is located in Scarborough, Ontario, which is a very vibrant and growing immigrant community. So the Global Kitchen Fellowship is a ministry that they started to follow Christ's example, who intentionally shared meals with people on the margins. So around the table, they try to create belonging and a safe space where people can feel included. And they're helping to reduce social isolation that new Canadians will often feel when they come to Canada. So what it is it's cooking, basically a cooking ministry where they share ethnic recipes over multicultural meals, and then faith and scripture are kind of woven into those conversations. And it's such a neat program. They actually just developed a cookbook, which is really amazing. So if you want a copy, please let me know, and I'm happy to share. They applied to the Avon Bloom Experimental Fund, and they received $8,000. The fund goes up to a maximum of $8,000, and it's such a great fund for piloting new projects, trying and experimenting with new outreach that basically just helps to share God's love and grow Christ's kingdom. So it's a wonderful grant to look at if you are thinking about trying some type of new program or outreach. The next example I have to share in the same category is of London Korean Presbyterian Church. So they're located in London, Ontario, and they also applied to the Avon Bloom Experimental Fund. They received almost $4,000, and this was to support a series of music festivals that they ran last summer. So these festivals were designed to support local musicians and artists and to really create a barrier-free access for the community to join in and to create fellowship in a relaxed and welcoming space. So they had children's activities and crafts and face painting at the same time that they had the music happening and food. And it was just a really, really wonderful event. They reported that over the course of the 3 festivals, they had 120 people attend from the community. So it was a great program. So the next area of focus that I have is the environment. So environmental and green initiatives represent actually one of the largest and fastest growing funding categories available to not just churches, but nonprofits in general. And green initiatives aren't, for us as churches, they're not just about the environment. They're about stewardship, sustainability, and expanding your church's capacity to serve. So the example that I have is Courtright Presbyterian Church. They applied to the Avon Bloom Experimental Fund last summer, and this was to grow a children's garden on their property. So they had a large green space around the church, and they turned it into a garden. So they taught kids the skills of growing a garden. It was opened up to the community, so community kids could join in as well. And then they ran all kinds of programming to coincide with the garden. So they also had a 4-week Sunday school class. They had a 5-week youth and young adult class that dealt with eco-justice and eco-anxiety, which is a big issue for our youth today. They ran neighborhood workshops on gardening and a kids class that taught sustainable gardening and connecting and caring for God's planet. The next slide, an area of focus, is accessibility. So going back to the Bible verse that I shared earlier about enlarging the place of your tent, we all know that enlarging the tent isn't just about numbers, it's also about who can enter the tent and can they fully participate. So for example, can someone in a wheelchair enter independently? Can someone who is deaf fully engage in worship? Can someone with low vision navigate the building safely? Or can neurodivergent children or adults participate in a way that they feel comfortable? Grants can help churches stretch wider by removing these types of barriers. We see all kinds of applications that deal with accessibility, such as wheelchair ramps, handrails, automatic door openers, or enlarging the doors altogether. Accessible washrooms is a big topic right now, as well as installing elevators or lift systems or hearing loop systems. So see, these are some of the grant applications that we see coming in. And we do have a few good options for grants if you are wanting to do a capital project. There's the McBain-Barker Small Community Capital Fund. This is one of our very popular funds. It goes up to $10,000 for capital projects. And there are 2 deadlines a year. Actually, the main deadline is coming up this spring of April 15th. And then the next one is called the Chisholm Fund, and it goes up to $25,000 for capital projects. But with the Chisholm Fund, priority is given to Saskatchewan and then Western Canada. So it is important to keep that in mind. We also have the New and Renewing Ministry Fund that can be used for capital projects that are closely tied to community or outreach or some sort of renewal initiative. Okay. So the next area of focus is partnerships. So encouraging collaboration with local organizations. We're seeing all types of partnerships happening with congregations, from local schools to Indigenous communities, local nonprofits. We're seeing lots of ecumenical partnerships with other congregations in the community, health departments, municipal agencies, and environmental groups. So the example I chose here is Brentwood Presbyterian Church in Burnaby, BC. They applied to the Avon Bloom Experimental Fund and received $4,000. This was to partner with the local jazz community in their area and local musicians, and they came together to write and produce original music, actually, that was closely tied to certain scriptures in the Bible. And so now they've produced this beautiful music and made it available to many groups, and it was just a very wonderful collaboration of the music community in their neighborhood. The next example I have is St. Andrew's, Calgary. They partnered, this was about 1.5 years ago, they partnered with the Aboriginal Friendship Center of Calgary, as well as the local city, to host a neighborhood event celebrating Indigenous culture. So they applied for $4,000 and they got that from the Avon Bloom Experimental Fund. This was to host it was called the Friendship Day, and it was a free 1-day community event held on the property next door to the church. So it belonged to the city, and that's why they worked closely with the city. And the event featured all kinds of traditional storytelling, craft activities, Indigenous games, teepee demonstrations. There were lots of dance performances. And throughout the course of the day, they had over 500 people from the community attend. So amazing event and really well done collaboration with the Indigenous elders in their community and working with the city closely as well. So those are some of the key areas of focus where grants can help congregations serve and reach out to their communities. I also wanted to talk about another area of grants that we have. They're called the supporting ministry grants, and this is the umbrella term. There's a few different categories under this term for specific contexts and reasons, but these grants help to support a minister's stipend and benefits, or a ministry leader for a mission that might be under the oversight of a presbytery. So these grants go for a maximum of 5 years, and most of these grants decline slightly each year. The purpose of these grants is to help ensure stable leadership in our congregations. So the deadline is only once a year. It's October 1st, and that is because these grants are given out by calendar year. So for example, congregations that applied this past October, funding would have started on January 1st for them, and it's given out monthly. So because these tend to be larger grants. There is quite a bit of work involved in applying for them. So we encourage congregations to start early if they are interested in applying. You will need to include a 5-year vision plan with your application, and we can assist with that. And presbyteries are also very involved with these types of grants. So I just wanted to note that. We also have 8 Indigenous ministries that are supported through our granting funds. So these help to support the Indigenous leaders that run these 8 ministries. And the 8 ministries also make up the National Indigenous Ministries Council, which helps to guide us as a church through healing and reconciliation. So they play a very important role in teaching us and walking alongside us and helping us in that journey. So we just wanted to make mention as well that these ministries are very important, and they are also funded through Presbyterian Sharing. Okay, so I just wanted to talk for a minute about some strategies for successful grant applications. It is always important to read eligibility carefully. So every single one of our grants has different terms, and some of those terms are set out according to the people or the donor who originally donated the fund or gave the endowment. So we follow those terms very closely. So it's important that you pick a fund that matches your goals. And if you're ever unsure, you can reach out to John and I, and we are always very, very happy to help in this way. And along that line, it's important to tailor your application to the funding priorities. So for example, I mentioned a few slides ago about the Chisholm Fund, how priority is given to Saskatchewan and then Western Canada. So that was actually the part of the donor's wishes. It was in his will that we give priority that way. And so of course we honor his wishes. It's also good to have a clear goal and objective with your grant application. So who are you trying to serve? What is the impact you're hoping to see? It's good to come up with some measurable outcomes to show that you've really thought this through. And then for every grant application, we ask for a budget, which kind of shows the sustainability of the project. And it's also good to try to tell a compelling story. So really highlight the need that you're trying to address, show the need, and how is God leading your congregation to serve that need, to fill that need. Sometimes congregations will even they might include testimonies with some of their applications or pictures, because we all know picture tells 1,000 words. So there's different ways you can kind of help tell that story. So getting started, it's important to identify one project and to determine the funding needs. So are you going to need materials, craft supplies? What does that look like? Do you need to hire someone to help run the program? Do you need to redesign your space? So for example, we've received applications over the last few years from congregations who are adapting space in their facility for sensory rooms. And this is for kids or for adults with neurodiversity or autism. Research the relevant grants. Which one is the best fit? Again, John and I are always happy to help with this. Draft a short outline and set a realistic timeline and budget. So have you actually given enough time to apply for the grant? On that note, we do have some key deadlines. Most of our program and capital grants have 2 deadlines a year, the spring and the fall. So April 15th is the main deadline, and most of the time there's funding left over for the fall, October 15th. The only case where that may not happen is with some of our capital grants, which tend to be very, very popular. So if you can, try to get your application in the spring. And then the supporting ministry grants, the ones I mentioned that support a minister's stipend and benefits, those are only once a year, October 1st. Presbyteries. John, did you want to talk a bit about this?
Yeah, I don't know if we have any presbytery clerks with us today, but Just so that everyone knows, should you be a grant recipient or if you're in holding a position within your presbytery, one of the requirements when we receive applications for funding is that those applications need to be endorsed by the presbytery in which that ministry resides. Um, Sometimes it can slip through the cracks that the presbytery might feel that once they've endorsed the application that we're done. But in fact, the presbytery does, through their endorsement, now have a certain responsibility to keep an eye on the ministry that has received the grant to ensure that the money is being spent where intended or what it was applied to do, and that things are progressing as expected. It's not a really onerous task, and it's not something that we're downloading on presbyteries. It's something that's always existed as part of the presbytery's responsibility once they endorse a grant. So if you are a grant recipient, I encourage you to communicate regularly or report regularly to your presbytery about the progress that you're making based on the program that you received a grant for. So it's quite important that you're partnering with your presbytery so they know what you're doing, they support you, that they're providing their endorsement. Yeah, just wanted to throw a couple of words in there about that.
Great. Thank you, John. Presbyteries really are a wealth of information and expertise, so they're a good place to go for help and guidance and just to help you even clarify the focus of your ministry. Okay, so I've gone through quite a few of our more popular grants today, but we have even more that I haven't talked about or haven't had time to talk about. Everything from lay training, we have a grant for conferences, for worship and liturgy, mission work. There's a full list at the link on your screen under presbyterian.ca funds, and sometimes the list can be a bit overwhelming. So if you are not sure where to begin, please reach out and I'm very, very happy to help lead you in the right direction. Other areas
We're
where you can, oh yes, go ahead, John.
Well, I'm also planning as well because quite often we try to direct people to the website and we realize that everybody's maybe not necessarily web proficient or can find their way through there's so much information on the PCC website. We are planning to produce an actual printed publication with regards to loans and grants, spelling out all of the different ones that are available, the criteria, the requirements, the application dates, et cetera, et cetera. So coming perhaps early this fall, there will be an actual publication, which we will then send to every session in the country, as well as every presbytery, so that you actually have a little booklet that you can refer to without having to fire up the computer and try and find your way through the website.
Good. That's a good point. Yeah. So keep an eye out for that to come in the coming months. Some other areas where you could also look for funding are local foundations or businesses, donors. Some presbyteries or synods will also have funds that you can reach out to for funding. And then collaboration with other churches and community groups often opens doors to additional funding. And as always, you're always very welcome to call us.
I might add too, if particularly if you're looking for funding with regards to accessibility with your building, please don't ignore your municipal, provincial, and federal government. In my own church, we've just gone through a process of installing an elevator or a lift because it's a 3-floor building, and we found. And I know programs come and go, but we found the federal government to be very helpful in assisting us with the funds that we required to complete that project. So don't forget about different levels of government, particularly when it comes to the accessibility aspect of your building.
It's a very good point. Good. Okay. So that's it for the presentation today. We wanted to leave lots of times for questions and answers. I'm actually going to stop sharing so that I can see everyone's face. And there's a couple ways you can share your questions. You can either raise your hand. there should be a raise hand button at the top of your screen, or you are welcome to put it in the Q&A or the chat. So there's a few options if you do have question, and we'll try to keep an eye on everything that comes up. Does anyone have any questions? If you think of something after today's call, you can reach out to me, and I'm also happy to work with you in your own specific context. Sherry?
Just a quick question. I know that the deadline's April 15th and then October 15th. Can you tell us when people are applying, who does the deciding on the grants? And is there a large group, a small group?
Oh, that's a very good question, Sherry. The vast majority of the grants, other than a couple of little smaller ones, such as the $4,500 we make available for people entering the New Beginnings program, and perhaps one other, the vast majority of the grants are decided by what's called the Grants Committee. That's made up of a representative from each of the 8 synods across the country. So Jennifer and I, we will prepare all of the information for the Grants Committee, make our recommendations based on the information that we've received, but ultimately the decisions are made by the Grants Committee. Glad you asked that.
Thank you.
John, I think, has a question.
Yeah, on the grants, the different grants, there seems to be an amount that is a maximum. Is that like a maximum per application, or is that a maximum for that total grant? So if 8,000 is the maximum fund for Avalon Bloom, is that spent like if three organization applied for that grant, only one can receive it, or do you divide the 8,000 by 2,000 each or something?
No, that would be the maximum grant available to any one ministry.
Any one ministry. Oh,
yeah.
Okay.
Margaret. You're still muted there, I think, Margaret. Yeah.
Okay. Everybody doesn't know what our kind of situation is, but I'm the minister for Place of Hope Indigenous Presbyterian Church, and we worship in the Christian Education Hall for St. John's Presbyterian Church. So I'm really interested in the accessibility thing because we need to add a washroom that's accessible. It's necessary. It has been necessary since we moved into the building. And so we, meaning the Indigenous congregation, can't afford to very much help with the renovations that's going to be happening. So you said check out municipal, provincial, and federal. So what do you check when you're checking out?
Well, usually each level of government will have some sort of a funding program. And like I said before, sometimes they come and they go. They run for 3 months, all the money is gone, and then they don't have another one until usually closer to an election time. But I think if you approach City Hall, if you approach your Manitoba legislative member or your MP and ask for directions as to where there could possibly be some funding for specifically for accessibility, that they would probably be able to say, yes, we have this program, or no, we don't have this program now, but we're expecting one in the spring, something like that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, I know the MP and the MLA quite well.
There you go.
So I'll go there. Thank you.
Super. I think Mike is next.
Thank you. As Jennifer knows, that we're working on an application for the April 15th deadline, and we've geared it to get our session approval in March. My question is, I don't believe our Presbytery of Kamloops meets until April, and I'm not sure of the date, but would it be permissible to submit the application completed by April 15th and then supply the Presbytery endorsement a few days later if that's when they meet?
Yes, that's completely fine, Mike. That will happen in the spring. Last year, the deadline fell right during Holy Week, during Easter. So as you can imagine, not many presbyteries were meeting last year in April. So in that case, just go ahead and submit your application. And then as soon as that presbytery endorsement comes in, you can email it to us directly.
Thank you. I've been told our presbytery takes a dim view of holding emergency meetings for one thing, so I didn't want to ask that. Okay, thank you.
You're
Thanks, Mike.
welcome.
Barbara. Barbara Wilson, you're still muted from what I can see.
Hmm.
Maybe we'll move on to Linda, who I see has her hand raised while Barbara's sorting things out.
Okay, I just want to say thank you to Mike for asking that question, because that was my first question as well. Our presbytery only meets every other month, so we wouldn't have been able to get presbytery approval for April if we wanted to apply this year. My second question is, right at the very beginning, you said people assume that it's all about large capital grants, but we have lots of other grants as well. Do you have large capital grants?
So we do have some larger capital grants for redevelopment of properties. That's something that's an area that's being led by Karen Plater. And those tend to be for like feasibility studies and things like that for congregations who are looking to redevelop in terms of like social housing and things like that. So we do have grants along that line. John, did you want to mention anything else about that?
Yeah, that's a committee. The committee members are actually three past moderators: Pat Dutcher-Walls, Dan Scott, and Amanda Curry, and myself, Karen Plater, and Ainsley Chapman are staff support for that committee. This has been a relatively new initiative by the church, probably in the last 8 or 9 months, I guess. It's been something we've been talking about for quite some time, but finally came to fruition. So we were granted some money from the New and Renewing Ministry Fund, which enables us to provide grants at various levels. Let's say you've got a church with an acre and a half of lawn by the side of the church, which just fits there, and all it is an expense because someone has to cut it all of the time. And you're thinking, boy, what could we do that with that space to benefit the community? Perhaps we could partner with a legitimate developer to build and provide low-income housing, or perhaps that could form part of a senior's residence. So this committee, called the Redevelopment of Church Property, we offer various levels of grants, starting with probably the most basic, which is a visioning exercise. So before a project is even entertained, we want to know that the congregation has gone through a visioning process so that we know that everybody's on board. This is the focus. This is the need that we see in the community. So from that point on, then they develop, and with our assistance too, they develop what they might be able to do. In which case, then we would provide some funding for a feasibility study, which would bring some professionals into play, possibly an architect, a zoning consultant who would be able to fill people in on, well, these are the permits that are required. These are the restrictions based on your property. And then some financial people as well to say, well, this is what your project's going to cost you. However, you have to keep in mind these are what the operating expenses of this project might be as well. So there are various levels as people move through their progress, the progression of developing a church property. So that's a separate standalone group, like I say, that we're involved with. But it's quite exciting, and it's been very well subscribed to since its introduction not many months ago. So if anybody is interested in learning more about that, I'd ask you to contact me directly, and I can fill you in more detail. I think we're back to
Thank you.
Barb. Oh, sorry, okay.
Uh,
I think
Yeah, I
back to
finally
Barbara, I
figured
think.
it out. Sorry.
Oh, good. And
Um,
I can see you now too.
yes, thank you. I belong to a congregation which is an ecumenical shared ministry with the United Church in a small town in Ontario. And we have a very old church that we occupy, like well over 100 years. And we have problems with doors to the church, not being able to lock, not being able to, possibly allowing mice to run in. And if we were, like, I know it sounds crazy, but if we were to apply for some money, which area would we look at? Maybe, would that be safety, or
Yeah,
do
I
you
think
do
that,
infrastructure, or?
yep. So the McBain Barker Small Community Capital Fund would be a perfect fit for what you're describing. So you could
Oh,
absolutely apply for replacing doors or whatever needs to be done to kind of upgrade the building a bit. That would be a very good fit. And that's the one, the deadline's coming up April 15th, so you still have lots of time to get an application ready.
okay.
And it goes
Okay.
up to $10,000.
Okay. Well, thank
Jennifer,
you.
thank you, Barbara. Before I go to Jim, Jennifer, I noticed a couple of questions in the Q&A. If maybe
Okay.
you could address those.
Yeah. So Sean has asked if a ministry fits the parameters of a couple of different grants, can both grants be applied for? So you can only apply to one grant for one project. So if you have two different projects on the go, that's okay. But it's only one grant per project. And then the next question is, are we required to match funds when applying? So no, we don't. I know sometimes other organizations will have matching grants, but no, we don't expect you to have to match. I mean, there is in all of our application forms, there is a spot where you can include if you do have other fundraising initiatives happening, you can put that in. But it's not required.
Great, thanks, Jennifer. I thought we were, where are we here? I'd mentioned, yeah, Jim is next.
Okay, first of all, thanks, John and Jennifer, for the great presentation. My question may have been answered with that last written-in question. Not sure, though. Are there certain percentages of total amounts for projects that are eligible for various grants? Is there a certain amount? Not the total amounts were there, I think, but is there a certain percentage of a project?
Yeah, for a couple of our grants, not many. For the Creative Ministry with Children and Youth Fund, there is a percentage with that one that the grant can cover up to basically like 2/3 of the grant. So it's yeah, so it doesn't normally cover the entire project, and that's only because it's a small fund and we don't want to go through those funds too quickly. Most of the funds, though, the other example would be the lay bursary fund. Again, usually it covers like up to 2/3 of the costs of attending an event. So it's kind of expected that the congregation or presbytery would cover the remaining third. Those are really the two main ones where there's a percentage.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Bob.
Hi, first of all, thank you for all the information you're providing here. It's very helpful. We're looking at the front entrance to our church. There's a lot of concrete there and a lot of cracks in the concrete, which is in need of repair. At the same time, we'd hope to relocate the wheelchair ramp from the parking lot to a more sensible location than what it's at yet. So would that alone make it eligible, I guess, for consideration with the McBain-Barker?
Yes,
you think?
yes, absolutely. Yeah, you could definitely apply for that project. It would be a great fit.
And so I guess would they look at the kind of the portion of it that's crack repair and the portion of it that's moving the accessible thing?
Yeah. So the McBain-Barker, it can be used for accessibility, but it can also be used for other improvements. So even it'll go towards helping a church replace their roof, or if there's ceiling work or repointing work that needs to be done. So it can be used for many, many purposes. So that would definitely be a good fit, what you've described. Yeah.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Andrew.
Yeah, hi. Thanks everyone for this great conversation. I have a question about who can apply for these grants. I think all the examples you listed were local congregations or presbyteries. I work with an ecumenical university chaplaincy that has connections to our presbytery. And I know Presbyterians Sharing stopped funding university chaplaincies about 13 years ago. But I would just love to confirm whether or not university chaplaincies can apply for these grants now.
Yeah, so the answer would be as long as it's being applied for by the congregation or the presbytery. So the presbytery has to give their endorsement. But yes, it should be okay as long as it's the congregation that's applying for it.
Right, so I'm not with a congregation, I'm with a university chaplaincy.
Okay. Oh, I'm so sorry. I misunderstood. So no, I'm sorry. I'm afraid at the moment we don't have grants for university chaplaincies. Maybe it's an area that we need to look at again, but I'd be happy to have a conversation with you and kind of find out a bit more in terms of what the needs are and what that would look like.
So you're saying none of these grants can apply to things that aren't congregations?
They have to be congregations or ministries supported by a congregation or a presbytery or a synod. So they have to fall under the oversight of a presbytery or a synod.
So we do have a presbytery connection. We are supported by the Presbytery of Waterloo Wellington.
Okay, so it sounds like we might have to kind of take a closer look at what the situation is and see what the needs are and if it would be a fit for any of the funds. So maybe we could have a conversation later sometime this week and then I could kind of better direct you.
Sure.
Thank you.
Barb. You're still muted, Barb.
Is it Barb Wilson or a different Barb?
A different Barb, I think. Yes, a different Barb. Jennifer, are you able to unmute?
Top bar. Look at the top bar. Way up at the top where there's camera. That's
there we go.
I got it. Sorry. I'm used to Zoom.
Yeah.
I run the community meal program at Richmond Presbyterian Church in BC. And I'm wondering if we do an in-house meal and prepare meals to go out to the homeless. And I'm just wondering if an ongoing program could be eligible for the outreach type of help, or would we have to have some new component of it that would help us qualify?
Nope, that would definitely be a fit. Sounds like a wonderful fit. And there's a couple of different grants that I think could be a fit for it, but I would be very happy to help you. Either the New and Renewing Ministry Fund or the Avon Bloom Fund. It sounds like it would be a fit for either one. So we could kind of see what your funding needs are, and then I could help you provide you with an application and go from there.
And even if we get some, I apply for a grant from the city, and there's another community foundation that I'm waiting to hear. They helped us last year, but even if we have some other grants, it's still okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. Definitely.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
After you've asked your question, I just remind people to put their hand back down so it's easier to see who's not been answered. So I think next we're going to, and I don't see the person, I see a circle with RP.
Hello. Hi.
Hi.
Hi. Sorry, my camera is not working well. My name is
Okay.
Razan Pradhan, and I'm from
Razan.
the New Westminster Presbyterian Church, First Presbyterian Church in New Westminster. We have a church which is 164 years. We are going to celebrate in March 22nd. It's a very old church. However, I look into the finance, and I'm an elder at the church. So what we are looking at right now is we don't have a camera like projector for the church, which we have, but it's dying. The projector is dying. So we are looking for a grant for sanctuary audio and video upgrades. So that is, we like to have a television instead of projector, because projector is very expensive to maintain also. So we're looking to have a television, and we're looking for a grant, and also looking to do, in the New Westminster, there were 4 churches, 2 has closed, and due to the congregation declining. And that's what we see also right now at our church. Our New Westminster is about 100,000 people, but we have only about 5% of our congregation is about 80 people only, 80 to 90 people coming to church now. So we want to grow our church, and our community is growing. We can see a lot of high rises coming up in the church, in the area, but we need to grow. So there are ways to grow we discussed, and one way we discuss is having internet access to the people around the community, so they can watch us, how we do our sermons, what we do at a church. And so there's so much of room to develop, but the only reason is we need funding to have the audio video upgrades. So where do we reach and how do we reach?
Yep. So you said you're in New Westminster, BC? In the
Yes.
Vancouver. Yeah. So you actually, the Chisholm Fund would be perfect for you, because it does give priority to Western Canada, and it can be used for program or capital, which includes audio visual equipment. So that deadline is coming up April 15th. And if you'd like, I can give you the application form for that.
Awesome. That would be great.
Yeah. Okay,
That'd be
good.
great.
You're very
Yes.
welcome.
Thank you so much.
John.
Yeah, this isn't really a question, but I was just hoping that this is a great presentation, and the information is very useful to me. I'm wondering, could we get your PowerPoint slide, and maybe some of the questions and responses from people, because I think that would be really helpful for me to share back with our session in Vancouver.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'll send out the slide deck today, along with, you'll have my email where you can contact me directly. And then this week, our communications department will also prepare the recording of today along with the Q&A. So once that's ready, it usually takes a day or two. They'll send out the link to that. So you'll have both. You'll have the slide deck, and you'll also have today's recording.
Well, thank you. That'd be
You're
very
very
useful.
welcome.
Thank you.
Good. Good.
Thank you.
Barb, did you have another question, or was
No, but I have to say I am so delighted at this excellent presentation. Very helpful, and Godspeed in your good work.
Thank you so
Thank you.
much. Thank you.
I'm not seeing any other questions at
that-
this point in time, I don't believe.
We've covered everything. Okay.
Mhm.
Good. Okay. Well, thank you so much, everyone. We really appreciate you being here and for asking your questions. And we'll happily share the slide deck today, and then you'll get the link to the recording this week. And in the meantime, please reach out if any other questions do come to mind. We're very happy to help.
Thank you.
Good. Thank you. And blessings on
Thank
the
you.
rest of your day. Take care.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Alrighty. Bye-bye.